Hey everybody, welcome to the Extreme Weather Zone. This is my first video here on YouTube, and in this video, we're going to be looking at an interesting weather pattern where we have a quick-moving winter storm right now over the Dakotas, kind of an Alberta Clipper kind of system, that will merge with a system that's currently over the south producing heavy rain and thunderstorms. Those two storms will merge over the northeast, creating a winter storm. And there's also a pattern change happening with storms coming into the western U.S. So right now on the current satellite, we could see this kind of clipper kind of system over the Dakotas. It's bringing some snow there tonight, and then that's going to move east, and that'll be pretty interesting to see what happens there. It's going to move east pretty quickly over the Great Lakes, and then it goes into the northeast by Saturday. And we also have this system down here with rain and thunderstorms in the south. That's moving northeast. It's going also towards the northeast. Those are going to combine. And then we also have kind of quiet weather in the western U.S. right now, but that's going to change because we have a system moving into the western U.S. as well. So right now, this is the NAM 3-kilometer model showing precipitation. And so right now, you can see that tonight there's kind of some snow moving through Minnesota, Wisconsin, kind of moving into Iowa. It's moving away from the Dakotas. That's the kind of clipper type of system, Alberta Clipper type of system going eastward, kind of moving pretty quickly. And then we have the storm in the south bringing heavy rain and thunderstorms. Along with that, there's actually a marginal risk of severe weather for day 1 and day 2 over portions of the southeast because of this. So there's an isolated chance of severe weather. But then this kind of moves through into Friday night, moving into the Carolinas. And then we also have the quick-moving Alberta Clipper system kind of goes into the northeast by this time. And then these storms kind of emerging together. And then as you see what happens, on Saturday, that kind of just merges into an area of heavy snow for the northern portions of the northeast. Places along the coast, like in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, they're probably just going to get heavy rain. But then those systems, they kind of combine. It produces some heavy precipitation for the northeast, and that kind of moves away on Saturday night. But we also have a system kind of coming into the western U.S., and that's going to bring rain and mountain snow to California, Oregon, Washington, also into the Cascades, the Rocky Mountains, and the Pacific Northwest. And then another way to look at this is the 500 millibar chart. This shows we have kind of an area, a trough, an area of active weather down near Texas. We have troughing kind of up here in southern Canada, also into the northeast. This is kind of bringing colder temperatures. Then we have kind of a ridge over the western U.S. It's been there for a while, but it's actually breaking down as we have a trough, a mid-level trough kind of coming into the west. As you can see, this shows a trough coming into the west, and then it pretty much over the next couple days, we have by Saturday night into Sunday, we have the trough takes over most of the U.S., and then we also have ridging over the northeast. We'll have to see what happens there. The system that's moving through the south is going to bring heavy rain, and there is a potential for flooding, actually. There's a marginal risk of excessive rainfall for the southeast, especially southern Florida. This is also the NAM model showing, maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches of rain in localized areas across most of the south Southeast could get 2 to 3 inches of rain. Florida looks like they'll get a little more, possibly 5 to 7 inches in some localized areas. So that could lead to a slight risk of flooding, even though they are used to getting a lot of rain. The Weather Prediction Center shows 72-hour precipitation. This is all the way through Sunday evening. We have possibly half an inch to an inch of rain over eastern Texas, over Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. We go further east. We have a bit more rain over Florida. In the northern Florida, not so much. Maybe half an inch, maybe an inch up towards the Panhandle. But southern Florida could have 2 to 3 inches of rain. Then we have Georgia gets maybe about an inch, maybe an inch and a half of rain, closer to 2 inches as you go to the coast of the Carolinas. And then, as we go further up north, along the coast, where you have the two systems kind of merging together, we have 2 to 3 inches of rain along the coast, and then further inland where it's going to be snow, we have about an inch to an inch and a half of precipitation. But this is going to be snow. So the snowfall, it shows over the Dakotas, possibly a thin band of 2 to 4 inches of snow could be falling there tonight, and then it moves eastward, of course, into Minnesota and Wisconsin, also part of Iowa. They could get about maybe 5 or 6 inches tonight, and then it moves eastward tomorrow, and then watch what happens. So tomorrow night, you get possibly 6 to 10 inches of snowfall over Michigan, and then Wisconsin maybe 3 to 5, maybe 6 inches in some areas. And this kind of keeps going eastward. And then where the snow gets really heavy is in the northeast. As you can see here, we have possibly 1 to 2 feet of snow in some areas in Vermont, New Hampshire. The further north you go in these states, the more snow there is. So northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, maybe western Maine could have over a foot of snow. And even New York could see about a foot of snow in some of the places further north, maybe the higher mountains. And then further down, maybe a couple inches of snow in western New York. So that'll be falling on Friday night and Saturday. Then we have temperatures. These are the high temperatures for tomorrow, Friday. We have highs possibly in the mid-20s over the Dakotas, Minnesota, Montana, Great Lakes could have highs in the low 30s. The Northeast possibly highs in the mid-20s. So even though we're a couple days into spring, it won't feel like it for some places further north. But further south, it'll be pretty warm. It'll be in the 70s across a lot of places. The Ohio Valley, the South, possibly highs in the mid-60s. Maybe it could be slightly cooler because of the rain, but still pretty warm temperatures. And things are kind of warm in the western U.S., but those will be cooling down. And notice, these are temperatures Friday night. We have colder temperatures in the northeast, possibly in the single digits over there, and then temperatures in the teens in the northern plains, maybe North Dakota, northeastern Montana, northern Minnesota, stuff like that. Low temperatures could be pretty warm in the south, though. But then, as we go into Saturday, temperatures might be slightly warmer or about the same in the northern states, but in the western U.S., it's starting to cool down, because you can see on Sunday it's a little bit cooler as well, not dramatically, but to some extent. After this system goes away from the northeast, we actually have a couple interesting things. So the storm that's coming into the western U.S. is actually going to possibly fuel a severe weather event, because on Sunday, this is the Euro model showing on Sunday, we have possible thunderstorms that could develop in Kansas, maybe even up into Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, even possibly eastward into Missouri, but you have this potential for severe weather over here. And then north of that, we have another kind of winter storm on top of this. So that'll be interesting to see what this does. And this is a strong low pressure system, so there is the stronger potential for severe weather closer to that low on Sunday evening, Sunday night possibly. But then that low moves northward, and you still have the potential for possibly a squall line or something like that on Monday, and that moves eastward into Arkansas, Missouri, Louisiana, and it continues eastward. Then you have a new low pressure area that forms, and this is Monday night. So if a new low pressure area forms over this could generate even more severe weather. So we'll have to see what happens down there in Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, especially on Monday night and especially on Tuesday. We'll have to see what happens there, because this system on the 500 millibar chart, this is somewhat favorable, but the trough is positively tilted to neutrally tilted, so it's not that great for severe weather. We'll have to see what happens. Now, this is the GFS showing most unstable Cape is not that good, but, you know, this is GFS. It's still a few days out, so we'll have to see what actually happens with this. And then the Cape is a little bit higher in Louisiana and Mississippi on Tuesday, so that could be more favorable for severe weather. And the supercell composite is fairly high. It's 8, which is not. They're showing up to 8 possibly on Sunday. We'll have to see what this does, but also it is elevated, probably 6 to 7 in some areas in Louisiana on Tuesday. And also, the SPC has a day 4 probability of severe weather in these exact areas in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, in that kind of small area outlined there. And then we also have another risk of severe weather for Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and western Tennessee. That is highlighted there, so we'll have to see what happens with that, if they expand it or anything like that. And then also, as we go through, we have that big system, that big trough that kind of goes through, and then you can see that you kind of get ridging that starts to build in. This is next week. Ridging starts building into the central U.S., but then you still have these troughs that could lead to potential for severe weather over the next couple weeks. We'll have to see what happens with those, but the weather pattern does look like it's getting more active, more interesting. Have to see what happens with that. Well, that's all for today's video. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please like the video. Share the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching. Extreme Weather Zone, out.